All right, everybody, we are live here on the Yishai Fleischer Show, broadcasting live from Judea to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. I am joined by Rav Mike Feuer. Rav Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, shalom, Yishai. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, and we haven't been on together in a while, so it's fun to be on.
I got some complaints. I don't know.
Me too, and I was like, I got to fix that. And I was out in America, and people are like, "Where's Rav Mike? You got to get him back on the show." I said, "Okay."
He said,
okay.
"Listen, that guy's slippery."
Okay, that's right. Slippery when wet, as the Bon Jovi album
in general.
was.
I know. I'm thinking more lizard slippery though, dry and kind of scaly. Anyway.
Yes. Speaking of lizards, yes, I wanted to talk about. I talked with Malka on the last half of the.
Yishai, you've got a freezing issue. I can't tell which one of us is actually live right now. I'm still seeing the countdown.
Joe, on the Yishai Fleischer podcast, we talked about Jerusalem Day. Now, are you with me?
I hear you now, but your face is quite frozen.
All right, we're gonna have to. Hold on one second. We're gonna have to start again, but we'll just stay on. We're gonna start again, but we'll do it
freestyle.
Okay, we are back now. Let me know, how does this look to you, Rav Mike? Are we?
Well, I've got a delay between your sound and your picture, but I can hear you quite clearly now. Talk to me.
Yeah, 1 2 3 1 2 3. Can you hear me?
I hear you. But there's a strange delay between your sound and your picture.
Frozenness.
Now I hear you, but your picture is. Are you seeing me?
We're having some internet difficulties. I see some internet difficulties.
It's like, what's up with that?
All right, so you know what? I think if we're gonna keep on having these problems, I'm just gonna have to redo something here. And no, I think we're okay now. I think we're all right. How do you hear me?
I hear you just fine. I heard you fine before. Let's keep trying it.
Let's go. Let's keep going. All right. So let's start again. Shalom, everybody, and welcome to the Yishai Fleischer Show, broadcasting live from Judea to the world. You're a part of it wherever you are. I am joined by Rav Mike Feuer. Rav Mike, shalom and welcome.
Shalom, Yishai. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you. And we were having a little bit of technical difficulties because we are doing this live right now, and we haven't been live on together for a while. People in America were complaining. So I just came back from a little trip on the West Coast and on the East Coast. Got to see the Jews, and I did Yom Yerushalayim from Brooklyn, and it's like 5 years ago I did Yom Yerushalayim from Australia, and it was like the day that Jerusalem Day that the embassy was moved. Was that Jerusalem Day? I don't remember, but it was the day that they moved the embassy to Jerusalem. So I was like in Australia watching it and being like a shaliach out there. And this year also, what an energy there was, and amazing videos of the incredible energy of Jerusalem Day in Jerusalem this year. You were there as well, is that right?
Yes, in fact, I have to tell you that it was Shemaim. There was a power and a sweetness to it that as far as I'm concerned, the absolute obligation is to just go to Jerusalem on Jerusalem Day. I mean, there's many things you can do, and there's prayer, and there's Hallel, and that, but I have to admit, I'm very busy, and I get a little tired, and part of me was a little bit cranky, and I was like, I'm not going to go to Jerusalem. And I just kicked myself in the tush and said, no, you must go. And just the joy of Am Yisrael gathering in Jerusalem, the dancing in the streets, the dancing in the Rovio, it was just a fantastic thing. Not to be tarnished by, the over focus on like the negative energy that not only the media, forget the media, but even amongst our own people, a little bit, it's true, one fly can spoil the ointment, but I just feel like there's this obsessive need to make ourselves feel bad in these moments where we should let ourselves actually feel free.
Well, I would say first thing before we go on, I want to thank Lou, who is with us on the live stream right now, and I just want to ask Lou, how does the sound and how's Rav Mike's volume? I'm hearing it a little bit low. Let me know if it sounds right. So
you're always on my case for volume, man. You're always on my case.
I want to hear you. Is that a sin? The other thing is that there are elements within our society that indeed want to pop the balloons. They're in our society. They're also certainly in the anti-Israel, pro-Palestinian camp that they want to pop the
That's a
balloons.
given, but it's
Right.
within Am Yisrael that it really hurts the heart.
Well, those are people that are a lot of times are very nervous about the expressions of Jewish power. They're the ones that are actually nervous about Jews doing exactly what they did in this Jerusalem Day, which is a kind of response to the anti-Israeli flag, Palestinian replacement flagology that has been happening in Israel. And there was no question that indeed it was a show of strength. It was
show of
like
force, no question.
show of force. It was like a type of like military parade, except
So
instead
I want to sharpen
tanks,
that.
it was with flags.
But I want to sharpen that because part of the problem and the place where I think it does grade into just like bad behavior is the fact that we don't have leadership that's giving a vision of how to channel that in a constructive fashion. So like I'm looking around at all these 18-year-olds and I'm thinking, of course they're turning into yahoos when they get overexcited, because that's what an 18-year-old does, unless there's someone with a little bit more wisdom and vision to say, listen, take that exuberant 18-year-old energy and we got what to build. We have where to go. And so while everybody's responsible for their own behavior, and yeah, I listen, I didn't see anything myself, but I'm sure there was bad behavior here and there. But my point is that I place the responsibility for that squarely upon our lack of leadership. Because the energy there.
But why are you going there? I understand why you're going there. There was beautiful
because
behavior.
I want people to understand. Because I want people to understand.
But the whole point is that there wasn't a lack of there was a plethora of great behavior. It was awesome.
It was amazing, and that's maybe I'm not making my point clear. That's why I don't care about the anti-Israel crowd. They make no difference to me. I'm talking about within Am Yisrael, people who good-hearted people who share the vision, who like they let these small things ruin, like you said, it bursts the bubble. So like everybody's responsible for that in their own right, but I have a bone to pick with our leadership, which isn't getting out in front and saying, look at this energy. This energy can change the world. And we're going to harness it and focus it and build with it. And I just that's the piece that I walked away with saying, oh, let's not miss this.
Well, I would say to you right now, at least the way I feel it, is that leadership is actually becoming, at least at this era, this period, less important, and less prominent, and less. We respect leadership a little bit less. Maybe that's okay. Maybe what we need actually is more of a people's movement than really a top-down movement. I think that's what this Jerusalem Day was. It was in part a bottom-up thing where people were like, no, Am Yisrael Chai, we're not going to allow our town to be replaced with Palestinian flags. We're not going to do that. We're going to show up in force, and we're not going to, like, the leaders are not going to be the dictators of, or they're not going to put out dictates of what our culture, what our peoplehood is. And it's despite and in spite and actually like we the people. There was like a we the people feeling. Huh? Yeah, to borrow a phrase.
Yeah. Although one of the challenges there is sadly it's a subset of the people. Right? And like this discourse, which I'm sure you've seen in the media about something being hijacked, right? Which I just find so offensive. It's like, it's been hijacked. It's the only people that care about it are the ones that are doing something with it. It's like you could claim it's been hijacked all you want, but there's no hijacking when somebody else can't be bothered to actually come to Jerusalem and celebrate the return to our capital city after 2,000 years of exile. There's no hijacking involved.
Well, the only thing I need to correct you on is that you said I'm sure you've seen the media discussion on it, and the answer is I haven't. I haven't even a little bit, not even a tad. Why? Because I don't care, and I haven't been paying attention to it. I really have not been reading the news. I've been very involved in my trip and coming back and getting ready for Shavuot and getting ready the tomb of Ruth in Yishai, which we're going to have a big kiddush there on Shavuot.
Nice.
And I'm like, I've come to the realization that like I'm less interested naturally, and especially now, I'm less interested in that discourse. I know who these people are. They're the ones, they are the pundits that want to burst the bubble. And I'm just not, I'm not there. I am an activist on the bubble making side. Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to like, I know what they're the other
your
side.
Resume. You should put,
I'm just saying, like, I'm just not paying attention to them. So I haven't paid attention one bit. Much more interested in. I just put out another video from Jerusalem Day just now, even though it's past Jerusalem Day. Just just want to show people the power, the energy of it. Forget it. I'm not going to enter into a discussion with the people who their whole thing is to make war against that energy and that excitement, which is really, if you think about it, a type of Amalek energy,
It's
just trying to
true.
burst the bubble.
And I think I need that Musar because I let it get a little to heart this week, which is why it was so soothing for me and enlivening to actually be in the city and feel. I mean, it was a energy that I have actually probably never felt in Jerusalem.
Right.
The
That's right.
the extent, it was like an upwelling.
Right.
It was
And that was mostly for religious Zionists and Zionist type folks. There wasn't a lot of black hatters, but the black hatters, the Haredim, they're going to come out and show that same energy this Shavuot.
Oh, yeah.
Shavuot in the morning, I expect tens of thousands at 4 in the
easily.
morning to roll into the old city, and especially through the Shechem, Damascus, so-called Damascus Gate. And I think there's going to be tremendous energy from that side of the Jewish people.
Yeah, and you know, in a certain way, there's a deep connection between the two because the I was speaking actually to a client about this just the other day. Is that, you know, 3,300 plus years ago was Matan Torah, right? The giving of the Torah. But every year, what we celebrate is Kabbalat Torah. Is we celebrate receiving the Torah. Why? Because God only gave it once, so to speak. But our task every year is to receive it anew. Because that process deepens our attachment, it expands our capacity, it does many things. In the same way, you know, on Kafchet Iyar in 1967, God gave us back Jerusalem, and we fought for it, you know, everything. But really, it was a divine hand in my eyes. But usually, Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, is about us receiving it anew every year, rejoicing in it, deepening our attachment to it, expanding our capacity to make it meaningful. Right, so I think there's an important parallel to what you're pointing out.
Yeah, and I oftentimes think that the ultra Orthodox world mirrors the Zionist world just in their own way. You know, so like Lag BaOmer is a celebration that is not very different than Yom Ha'atzmaut. It's the return. One is the return to our embodied land. The other one is the return to our Torah knowledge here in the land of Israel, or Torah culture. So it's like it's just a different, you know, a vantage point on the same celebration. And so Shavuot is a vantage point. By the way, on Shavuot, a lot of ultra-Orthodox Jews go to another part of Jerusalem, which is the tomb of Samuel the prophet. And he overlooks Jerusalem. That's his yahrzeit, and the place is packed.
Shavuot is Shmuel Navi's yahrzeit?
No. Koach Iyar, the Yom Yerushalayim.
Oh, you said on Yom Yerushalayim. That I knew. Yeah.
Right. So everybody like piles. So all the black hatters pile into this pillar of Jerusalem, over at the top of Ramot, this overlook on all of Jerusalem called the Tomb of Samuel, or Nebi Samuel, and the prophet Samuel, and like that's their way of expressing that same thing. The bottom line is the Jewish people are back in the land. We have and we're celebrating it. And we have a conflict right now, and that conflict is both a physical conflict and a spiritual conflict.
Always.
We have a Torah portion here in Israel, which is Naso, which we're going to read right before Shavuot.
Did you miss any of the readings?
Yes, I missed. That's right. I missed 6th Aliyot of Bamidbar.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's bizarre.
It is. Not only is it bizarre, but it is also. It's just. And my friend Meir Eisman says we've got to work hard to instead of, there's this Jewish custom of bridging that gap as late as possible.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I've never.
Somebody was explaining it to me that it's something to do with Bamidbar being right before Shavuot and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's just like, it's not the way to do it. We really need to bridge those. We need to bring that the Torah.
But it also is Devarim right before Tisha B'Av.
Right. Okay, but we need to bring that we need to be together. That's one of the most important things. And today it's so meaningful because a person like me who's flying misses a Torah portion. And also it's very hard to send out a podcast or a video about the Torah portion because we're talking about different. And we really have to minimize as much as possible things that keep us culturally separated. And you got to work on things that keep us culturally connected. And indeed, one thing I can tell you for sure is that Yom Yerushalayim in Brooklyn ain't no Yom Yerushalayim. You know, you cannot really feel it.
Yeah.
I was like, man, we should make Brooklyn like a sister city of Jerusalem.
Or at least a neighborhood.
It should be, well, there's a lot. Yeah. We should partner these things. You know what I mean? They should know. and it could be that for the Black Hat Jews, Yom Yerushalayim is an easier one to celebrate than Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Oh, no question. I mean, no
Right,
question.
right.
Because it's about the soul returning to Klal Yisrael, and not just the goof. This, and also, let's face it, anybody who can't appreciate the fulfillment of longing of 2,000 years needs to ask himself where they are in the story, and just be blunt about it. Even if you
Well,
got Pikpuk in
right.
this,
But I think there's an answer to that, which is they are actually at a different part of the story.
okay, so but where?
They're
I didn't say they have to ask themselves if
they're
they're in this. They have to ask, where are they in the story?
they're continuing that other trajectory.
I mean,
Right?
history says that
They're
doesn't end
really,
well.
they're living in a different trajectory. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So I had to deal with this anti-Zionist rabbi, anti-Eretz Yisrael rabbi. It was rough for me, and it was like the truth is I had to tell him thanks because he really heated me up. He got right under my skin, his like subtle anti-Israelism. And the next day I had to go, that was in Shabbat, and the next day I had to go for this broadcast, and he just lit a fire under me, being like, I like got to do as much as I can to well up the spirit of Jerusalem Day in Israel here in the diaspora. So he really heated me up. And you know what? I went into his synagogue. First thing I noticed was that I'm like, I didn't. It wasn't the first thing. It took me some time, but then I'm like, wait, the Aron Kodesh is facing south. It was facing the wrong direction.
That's just weird.
Well, was a problem of architecture or something like that. Although I looked at the building and I'm like, there should have been no problem at all putting this.
I mean, it definitely happened. Isn't it YU? There's like
at YU. There's that thing also. That's right. Yeah. That was a bane. That was definitely an issue. That always bothered me a lot. And I would say, you see, you guys are facing the wrong way. But here also, you know what? It has an impact. If you don't if you're not ooh, I gotta turn my heart and head towards.
Of course,
towards
there's an impact.
Jerusalem.
Why else would the Gemara tell us that there is a kivun tefillah, that there's a way in which we face? I mean, it goes to the heart of it, because in the same way a person might say, "What? God is everywhere. There's no issue in where you're physically positioning. You're praying. It's a spiritual pursuit." In the same way, people don't understand. Like, what? You're going to live in a country where there's an army and a government and trash collectors, and that can't be holy. That's a physical thing. It's the same mistake, just of a different scale.
Right. But you may think that it is physical, but does not impact your psychology or spirituality.
But then you know anything about psychology or spirituality, in my humble opinion. Do you think that the physical doesn't impact? I mean, the physical impacts everything. It's where the tire hits the road.
Well, I want to say to you, I'm opening up my phone here. In my Torah section on Torah folder on my phone, I have this app which I like so much, which is this direction of prayer.
You got the Jerusalem. You got the Jerusalem compass.
Yeah, it's called Direction of Prayer. This particular app. It says direction. It's interesting the language. It says direction.
Can you switch between Jewish and Muslim?
What's that? No. It's direction of prayer to the Holy of Holies in Jerusalem. So it's pretty serious, and it's.
Well, you know why I asked? Because the Muslims have the same thing for Mecca. So I was wondering, was the app a Jewish app or is it a universal app?
No, this particular one is 100% a Jewish app, and it's got and you got to turn on the GPS to make sure that it's right now. It still has me as 100. And East 28th Street in Brooklyn in Kings County or something like that.
God forbid.
It has me in the wrong thing, but it's gonna. I think it has some spiritual jet lag. So when this thing wakes up and realizes where we are,
even the best of us
sometimes suffer from that kind of jet lag. Again, I'm asking folks that are listening right now if our volumes are equal. Let me know how it sounds and how it looks, and I really would appreciate that. We have a Torah portion that has in it, I think, two really important. You know what? Maybe for a Torah portion, maybe we should just talk about Shavuot. I guess if we're already in that swing, if we're already talking about something, everybody is bridged on Shavuot. So maybe we should just talk about Shavuot for a second. I just want you to know that right now I'm helping organize a big kiddush that's going to be happening at the tomb of Ruth and Yishai in Hebron, and it's going to be a big fat kiddush. We're going to make it big and beautiful. So I'm excited. And if you want to be part of that, you could definitely help sponsor part of that. That would be really fun. And we're going to be reading the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth is one of the most there's almost no harshness in it, right? There's like a harshness in that this leader of the Jewish people at a time of crisis leaves. He leaves the land of Israel. That's Elimelech. His sons die.
Yeah, it was almost no harshness. I mean, the front loading of the harshness.
Right.
You get it all 1, 2, 3.
Right. It's very fast, right?
Yeah. Oh, but brutal.
But brutal.
He dies. His sons die. His wife is left in abject poverty with their daughters-in-law, and sort of barefoot goes humbly back to the land of Israel. And then the story starts, so to speak.
Right, but that's like what? That sounds like 2 verses, right? Like the first.
It's a little bit more than 2 verses, but yeah, it's definitely.
It's just like bang. It's just like lets you know bad stuff happen.
It's the frame for the story,
right? And then this amazing person named Ruth, who's coming from a nation that's in some ways one of the most disattached nations to Israel, one of the most like harshly distanced nations.
Sure.
She, Dafka, is the one that's going to carry in her the ability to give birth to the ancestry of King David.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a classic theme within Torah really throughout, is this idea that there's a piece of redemption which comes from outside, right? The Chachamim say, "Eina asir matir et atzmo," right? The prisoner can't free himself, right? That on some level, redemption is a gift. We do the work, we prepare ourselves, and it's not going to happen without our efforts. But there's an element of it, like prophecy, which you can do the work and prepare yourself, but it's a divine grace that actually brings about redemption. And I think that that's part of what you were also moving toward in the sense of the sweetness of the book. It's like, yes, the frame is very harsh. In the same way that the frame of life, let's face it, nasty, brutish, and short. Hobbes wasn't just talking about nothing. But the reality of life is how you choose to make it. And the reality of life can be sweetness. And so you see in this frame, Ruth's power is that she maintains her chesed, her sort of boundless generosity and loving kindness, right? And her choice to give herself to her people, to her mother-in-law, to God. And that what comes out of that, and the boss, and that what comes out of it is redemption, kingship, right? Not redemption in the abstract, but redemption in the grounded physical sense. A king who can bring order and peace and prosperity to the people, who can lay the groundwork for the temple, which connects heaven and earth. I mean, it's about as big as it gets.
Yeah, I got to tell you, for me, Shavuot is like, I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm just crazy about this holiday. It's like some kind of like call of the blood. It's like I go kind of like haywire about it. Really, it's like a thing for me. It's like a Shavuot. I'm like, that's my, like, in many ways, that's my biggest holiday of the year in my heart. Like, for me, I'm just like,
so great. So maybe you have an answer for my question. It's a personal question, but I think you could also connect it to Torah, which is that classically Shavuot is that Chag which has no characteristic mitzvah, no characteristic commandment, right? I mean, on Sukkot we wave the lulav, we sit in the sukkah, and on Pesach, of course, there's matzah and the seder, etc., etc. Shavuot. So what's the avodah? If you feel such a deep, passionate connection, what, either for you personally, or what do you see to be the avodah with a capital V?
Well, I'll answer you on the very personal.
Please.
One of the main things for me on this holiday is actually to go to Yerushalayim and to spend it in Yerushalayim. That's like one of the main avodah. That's the truth. That's I'll like it's a little secret of mine.
Sure.
Like, I do not. I can go to Hebron. I could stay here. I like go to Yerushalayim. That's number one. And then I also try to go to the Temple Mount if I can. That's another one. And this year I'm planning to do that, B'ezrat Hashem. But the other thing is the avoda is to try to imagine Mount Sinai, standing at the foot of it, and then fully accepting it. It's fully accepting it as that, like, first thing, the avoda of Shavuot is the 49 days towards it. So it's like in many ways, it's not a bang, here's what you do on this holiday. It's a culmination. Process. It leads you through, Pesach Sheni, Lag BaOmer, Yom Ha'atzmaut, Yom Zikaron, and Yom Yerushalayim. Like, it's all a culmination of it. So that's part of the avoda. Is like a lot of times, like basically like Shavuot, if you did 49 days, like Shavuot comes in automatically. whatever happens, like happens without you, like you kind of led up to it. So that's number one. The other thing is, and Rabbi Nachman says this also, mikvah Shavuot, like at 4 a.m. And really like standing at the foot of Mount Sinai and trying to receive the Torah. That's basically it. I also try to meet friends, oftentimes give a little class, something like that, and just I try not to eat too much of the milk stuff, which you're supposed to do, but like I start to get funky stomach if I eat too much milk stuff. But I think in part the answer is that the reason that it doesn't have commandments and physical stuff to do is exactly that. There's something that is not framed for you. There's something that is not going to be, that you're not going to get like exactly the feeling like I hit the spot, I got to the place. There's something that kind of like happens, and that's the point. It's like a little bit like there is no exact words for it. There's something mystical that's beyond, and it's not going to be framed for you in a very physical way. It's going to be, you're not going to know exactly that you ate the matzah. You're not going to know that you shook the lulav or you had the etrog. You're not going to walk around, the bima. You're not. It's a holiday that's not that. It's something ineffable, unsaid. It's a feeling and a worship that is just, it's hidden. It's a hidden holiday in that sense. But in terms of imagination, in terms of guided meditation, I think that standing at the foot of Mount Sinai and trying to receive the Torah and trying to receive it anew, as in I'm back there, but it's being done right now. And if I could stand here at the foot of Jerusalem and be like, here we are as a nation receiving this thing, and like let me hear it. Let me hear Nasev and Ishma at the same time. Let me get those 10 commandments. Let me imagine that. Oh, you just reminded me that you reminded me that about a few months ago, like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I think I told you I was with my son in the mikvah. We went to the mikvah, and I'm sorry, I know this sounds funny, but I saw a dude with a tattoo of the 10 commandments on his back. Okay. Not on his backside, but on his back. Okay. And I snapped a photo of it.
Right, that's okay. Now I'm getting uncomfortable. We've moved beyond.
I'm telling you, it wasn't comfortable. But it was awesome, and I just
criminal probably.
Well, you see nothing of him other than that it's a back, and that's it. There's no identifiable marker. But the point is, I was
large
like,
tattoo of the 10 commandments, which is not an identifiable marker.
Well, yeah, probably his family will know, but I'm saying you'll never know who it is. My point is that I thought to myself, and of course there's an irony because you're not supposed to do tattoos. That's against the Torah, but
there's an explicit commandment about that.
Yes, but I understand that the Gemara has a discussion where other opinions are like you're not really allowed to make a tattoo of only,
there is, as is true of our tradition. Thank God, room to move there. But there's a very strong, I would say, both legal and cultural flow that is not within the bounds of what Jews do or what is permissible, even though we see that body art is flowering even in our fair country here.
That's right. And it's definitely a problem. But anyway,
I would put on the list of things
I did get to see. I get to see a Jew who put it. I guess before he was like a fully observant Jew, he was on the way, and he had already tattooed himself with the 10 commandments. May we put them not through ink.
Let them be engraved on our hearts.
Exactly.
And not on our backsides.
That's right. I think that I wish I heard you a little bit louder still. I got to tell you, I'm really like struggling to hear you 100%.
Yeah, and you're making me feel bad too. Thank you very much.
No, God forbid. God forbid.
I don't really know what to tell you since I'm about as close to this mic as I can get. My sense is that this microphone.
We should have checked the computer settings.
Prime.
We should have checked the early computer settings. We forgot to check the computer settings before the show. In any case, if you guys hear of Mike, that's all that matters to me. I was telling Malka earlier in the show that one of the things that I did was I picked up a surfboard in America for the kids. And as I was walking around with the surfboard, I was constantly thinking that I'm going to get, the kids are going to use the surfboard in in Ashkelon. And when I was thinking about Ashkelon, I was thinking about Samson, Shimshon.
Simshon
And I
and
was thinking,
Ashkelon.
right, that's right.
Did I get any louder there, by the way? Just out of
Yes,
curiosity.
sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just went and checked the settings.
Yeah. I hear you quite much better.
Okay, look at that.
Yeah, it's good.
You ask and you shall receive.
Thank you, Lord.
There's a Shavuot Torah for you.
Let me hear the rabbi louder, please. Like, no problem. It's just a setting. Okay, great.
I feel an inspiration.
That's right.
So Ashkelon.
And the point is that we have a Torah portion that reminds us of the great Samson, this unusual hero who with unusual physical strength is able to do feats that are surprising, including not just physical strength but also agility, to be able to catch foxes and to tie their tails together. Right. What's that about?
Torch in between. The torch.
Have you thought about that? What's tying two foxes' tails together? What do you think about that? Do you have a thought on that one?
I mean, I think that if you wanted to destroy a large area with fire, you couldn't think of a better way to do it. I mean, where you're going to come across that many foxes, I'm not sure. It has that taste of the mythic, which sometimes creeps into certain aspects of the Tanakh, which I love, right? Because we live in a world in which a fox is an abstraction. Although I happen to see my local fox here on a regular basis, we're quite close.
Yeah. Foxes are not such an abstraction. You see them; they're around.
You see them, but apparently,
sneaky little things, aren't they?
Well, fox even. I think in Shimshon's time, this represents a certain wild energy, right? Because his whole life is about harnessing of wild energy. In the fact that it can be destructive and constructive both at the same time, right? Notice he's so often involved in destroying things, but he's doing it for the sake of the preservation and the advancement of Am Yisrael, right? So he's harnessing the wild as he does within himself to bring about destruction of the enemies in order to bring a greater sort of order. Although in the end, it's a Pyrrhic victory, right? He destroys himself in that last, because he's unable in a certain moment to tame the wildness within, right? So I think it's part of the theme of his whole story, which is that strength in the mind of the Torah, right? Who's really mighty? Not just the guy who swings his spear over 300 dead like the heroes of David's time, but the one who can master themselves. Now, the two aren't mutually exclusive, remember. It's important to remember that. This is not a sort of a pacifist sense of like master yourself and don't worry about the world. No, master yourself, and that will allow you to truly assert your will over the world. But if you don't master yourself first, then you're toying with destruction. Right? And I think that's a lot of Shimshon's story.
He's also very much like the Zionists who came in and showed the Jews that we need strength, and that has to come back into our psyche. One of the subplots of the Samson story is that the Judeans are willing to sell him out, to tie him up and sell him out, to give him over to the Philistines.
Because he's making waves.
Like, what's that?
Because he's making waves.
He's making waves, and they're just like, and they say to him, don't you know that the Philistines rule us?
Yep.
And he's like, I'm a plug-in. I'm a plug-in to help you remember what Jewish strength is. I'm here to breed back in that missing component, and it's going to take some super strength, but you're going to see what a hero looks like, and it's going to get your imaginations going about what can be.
And it's an important sort of cautionary tale, a Musar Haskell, which is that even the necessity, and not just the necessity, but the Shimshon, the reason you mentioned it, if people miss the link, is a Nazir from birth, right? He's sacred, devoted. He is literally devoted property from birth, not his choice, right? Mm-hmm. Even that, you just understand that power has a destructive side. Period. You can't get around that. And this is one of the most paralyzing elements of, I think, our relationship to power today, is that as Jews, we have such a long culture, and especially in the Western world, where we've like adopted this moral posture that is today, like in the postmodern discourse, like all power is bad. Power equals evil, and that you're either a victim or a perpetrator. And yet Shimshon is a hero. right? Something that the postmodern world dismisses because the hero is just a villain with good PR, right? I mean, he can't actually be serving good, and we're not even going to discuss what he's serving. We're going to see the consequences, see all these people that died, see all that destruction. They say it must be bad, and the answer is, well, yes, and its consequences may be messy, but he was sacred from birth. I mean, power is sanctified when used in the service of God. That doesn't give you the license to do whatever you want, because look how he ends. But it also doesn't give you a license to be a coward or retreat from the reality of power.
I'm not sure that I exactly agree with the sense of how he ends as being tragic. I'm not sure about that. I think
how
that
else would you characterize suicide in service of the destruction of your enemies?
Well, I would say, and I can bring other examples of that from the Tanakh, that he belonged to a period of time, and he brought down the house literally with his enemies, and in a sense gave, it was he didn't belong to the next thing. He belonged at that end of that scene. He came to the world.
That's not the tragic element in my eyes. It's how he ended up there, which is tragic. Ask yourself, what if Shimshon had the self-control to not tell Delilah the source of his strength?
No, but that was also part of the ruse. It almost, the text kind of tells you like she's just annoying him to death, and yes, he's being annoyed, but it's like, well,
that's an interesting reading. I'm not sure I buy it.
Situation in order to strike at them, and here he is.
I'm not sure I buy that, because in the end of the day,
the end moment is like he gets them. Like he
explodes with
them. Huh?
He does tshuva and destroys them.
Maybe he does tshuva. I'm not sure.
Maybe
that's what it is.
Look at read the story. Say that he prays and he
says, "Give me strength. Give me strength to take him down."
For
he
vengeance.
Doesn't say, forgive me. He doesn't say forgive me for my sins. He says, "Give me strength to take him down."
So you're gonna just ignore the entire theme of him hooking up with non-Jewish women and struggling to control his sexual nature. You're just gonna ignore that.
I'm not saying that doesn't exist. I'm just saying another way to read it. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying the way I understand it is no. He's meant to be. He is a secret agent. He is consorting with the other women on purpose in order to start up. And yet the text tells you that
that's how it begins.
What's that?
The text tells you that's how it begins.
Yeah, and he's out there using this system to get into their thing, and he's always destroying them from within. Like he's like a Mossad agent. He's like doing something else here. He's not the regular. This is not prescriptive. Don't do.
We're going to agree to disagree. We're going to agree to disagree on that.
Yeah,
because I think also it needs a discussion of what I mean by tragic. I think that there's an element of tragic hero here, which is that there are contradictions within the human soul that cause our destruction when we reach our full realization. I think that's part of what is meant by tragic hero. That in order to become the person you need to be the hero, to do the things you need to do in the world, it is a sacrificial act. And if you're lucky, you're only sacrificing yourself.
Right. No, that's for sure. For sure, it is a sacrifice. That's certainly. He certainly sacrificed himself. That's for sure. And and he taught us. I don't know. Later on, Yoni Netanyahu is going to go to rescue, Jews from Uganda, and he's going to die along the way because
but I don't think it was
in harm's way.
Yeah, but do you think it was essential flaws within Yoni's nature that caused him to put himself in harm's way?
That's what I'm saying. Like I listen. I know what you're talking about, and I'm totally cognizant of it, and I respect it. I'm just saying I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure I buy into, and I know there's rabbinic literature on it. I can see a different way where it's like he's not really flawed. He's doing that. That's his mission. He's doing it that way. That's the way he's playing that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I'm not like because the text in the beginning tells you his parents say to him, "Why don't you just pick a nice Jewish girl?
Isn't there a nice Jewish girl you want?"
Right, but he's
like, says he's seeking an excuse. I know.
Right, and he's out there he's messing with them. He's picking a fight. He's starting up with them. He's
Excuse me.
God bless you. In any case, definitely the Samson story is an amazing story, and I think in Jewish history, I always thought, by the way, that the image of him lifting up the gate of the city above his head should be a Jewish image, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
now more than ever, perhaps.
right, you know what? My mom has a subscription to Biblical Archaeological Review, and I opened it up, and there was an uncovered synagogue from the 6th century in the north,
Uh-huh.
and it indeed had one of the mosaic images of Samson lifting the gate above his head. Yeah,
Taking it,
so
taking it to
I thought that was
Jerusalem, by
good.
the by.
What's that?
And taking it to Jerusalem.
No,
No
not
less.
Jerusalem. Mountains of Hebron.
He doesn't bring up Yerushalayim?
No, it
It's
says
up to the Hari Chevron?
Hari Hebron. That's right. He
Right.
walks at Route 35. He walks up Chotzei Yehuda.
I'm misremembering. I remember some connection between that story and Yerushalayim.
Right?
No,
We'll
I
have
believe
to
it.
check.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
And we have another thing in this Torah portion that I want to talk with you about, which is the priestly blessing.
Ah.
Tell me a little bit about that priestly blessing, because, like, to me, that's like, isn't it the oldest thing that they found until maybe recently? With like
the oldest written, the oldest biblical verse in the Silver Scrolls that they unearthed right next to the Begin Center, right? From, as far as I remember, it's Middle First Temple times.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It also, by the way, pokes some major holes in certain aspects of the biblical critical approach, as the claim of like the Levitical authors. I'm not so versed in that analysis, but it's not surprising to me that such a thing would be used basically as an amulet. And the silver scroll was something that was engraved in silver and was rolled up, and they assumed was meant to be warm. Like, I don't know if you were growing up, when you were growing up, did you wear a mezuzah? Like, when I was a kid, that was like a thing. Did you wear one?
You know what? I never wore one, but I saw kids that did it, and I was like, that's cool. I actually never had a chai or a Jewish star, or I really never wore a necklace.
The mezuzah thing was like a thing when I was growing up. I don't know. Anyway, it's awesome. Similar. Yeah.
Like
so that's exactly what it is. Right. It's not even like, hu hadavar, as we say. Right. So I mean, aside from that fantastic point of information, as we say, that the text has been with us in recognizable form for that long, there is this question of the power of blessing. And I find, without even getting into the content, which deserves a word by word analysis, just this idea that God says, listen, there needs to be a vehicle for blessing in the world. I could do it myself, but I don't want to hold it all myself. Like I want to give humanity a capacity to bring blessing. Right? If you think about Abraham's first real attachment in the land, comes from the blessings that he gets from Melchizedek, king of Shalem, of Yerushalayim. And, and in fact, his whole life is bound up with blessing, and he gives him the power of blessing. And this travels down through Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. If you follow the stories of Genesis, are all bound up. Who's going to get the blessing? How does the blessing happen? And then through Aaron and his sons, it becomes almost a class of people who have this power of blessing. But what's so beautiful, in my eyes at least, is that when the, let's call it, social structure that made that blessing accessible more or less dissolved with the end of the temple, I'm sure wouldn't give up on it. So first of all, you have the priest's blessing in the synagogue, outside of the land of Israel. At least for Ashkenazim, they only do it on the festival holidays. Why?
By the way, that is something that is one thing that I really dislike about being outside of the land of
really
Israel.
Hard, but do you realize you're meant to dislike it? Do you know why the Ashkenazim only do it on the festival holidays? The Ramah says explicitly, because you need to bless with happiness. And he's like, in exile, we can't be happy except on the festivals.
Well, you can really feel it. If you're used to here in Israel, if you're used to getting the priestly blessing in the morning, and then you're outside of the land of Israel, and you're just like,
hey, where's my dose of love?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's even further. And this is what I really find beautiful, is that we're a fairly conservative people, small c, when it comes to how we mess with our verses. And the roles, a Kohen is a Kohen is a Kohen. You don't get to just sign on for that. And yet, every Friday night, yourself, myself, and and Jewish parents all over the world just step right into the role of priest and give our children a blessing.
That's right.
And it is to me, a powerful experience of saying, I'm not a priest, I'm just a regular Israelite. But here in my home, at my table, which is like the altar that God lets us serve on. I'm the big kahuna. And not just the big kahuna. I'm like that all week, that I can bring blessing into my children's lives.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I think it's just
Very good.
it's just a beautiful, beautiful aspect of Torah which deserves to be explored and expanded.
Love that. Love that. That's and that's you've put words to something that I think a lot of us feel, that Friday night blessing for the children. Like, yeah, I'm the priest here. I got to bless my children. I got to bring that blessing to the world. Last thing about the priestly blessing, which is one of the most exciting finds that I have found in Torah in my whole life, which is if you look at the Rashi on the second verse, which is Ya'er Hashem panav lecha v'chuneka, may God light His face to you and send you grace. Rashi says Ya'er, he says, may he will send you panim tzehubot, panim sochakot, panim tzehubot. He'll send you a smiling face, a yellow face.
Right.
And I'm like, a yellow smiling face? You mean a smiley? And it's like, yeah, God will send you a smiley. He will send you a smiley icon. You will like get a smiley. You will feel the smiley. And anybody who ever sent a smiley in his life knows it's like a great way to send a smile.
A little smile.
Right. And somebody said to me in the airport, they're like, I looked at somebody and he said to me, "Ez panim meirot." What a light
You
face
do.
you have.
You got.
And I'm just like, may God send you a smiley. Like when you think of God, think of smiley. Think sometimes,
right?
Yeah. Sometimes I see a smiley on a car hanging from a car mirror. I'm like, good. May God be in your life, and thank you for sending that signal out to all of us. It's not to in any way lower God's messages to us to a smiley, but like emoji, whatever icon emoji I meant. But like, yeah, like may you feel God's smiley emoji to you in your life.
This is not a small thing. In my counseling, I'm seeing more and more how difficult it is for people to feel happy. I don't mean happy like.
Look at this, Rev Mike. Look at the text. Look at the text. Michael Nixon writes, the Kohanim blessing in shul sounds so mournful, but this rabbi, Rev Mike, tries to convince us it's joyful. Any comments?
I mean, just read the text. That's my primary comment. I mean, like it's true. The sort of like strange atonal, nusach that we have is not the most joyful, and I can't speak to that. I don't know where it comes from. I've heard people make all kinds of claims, but the content, also the blessing that the priests say before is ba'ahava, right? That God commanded them to bless us with love. And you know how real that is? Do you know that if a Kohen is beroges, he's angry with someone in the congregation, he's not permitted to go up for the blessing.
I only know this law that you're saying because there was in our synagogue somebody who I figured out was a Kohen. And I'm like, and then I like asked somebody like, so why isn't he going up to blessing? And
he's been fighting with Larry for 20 years.
Yeah, he's like angry with this other dude in the synagogue, and therefore he does not bless the congregation. I was like, no, oh my God.
But notice the importance there. It's not that he's angry with Larry, and therefore when he gets up there, he excludes Larry. He's angry with one guy in the congregation, therefore he cannot do it.
Wow. And Michael says, yes, I'm not up with the Hebrew. Good answer. Absolutely. And Michael, look into the blessing and you'll see it is indeed filled with love. Rav Mike Feuer, I want to wish you a wonderful Shavuot. It's great to have you on the show. I want everybody to check out your websites and your spiritual counseling. So it's ravmike.com. .co?
ravmike.com for
ravmike.com and jewishstory.co.
And jewishstories.co. We're heading to the end of season 5. I'm excited. Got big plans for season 6.
How many episodes was the Lebanon War show? Like 5?
5 episodes, and then I did a little bit of a wrap-up interview on Menachem Begin with Daniel Gordis.
That's right. That's right.
5+.
I actually have them all, like all 5 lined up to listen to. So I hope I'll take a nice long jog and get the whole thing through. I'm very excited for that. So thank you for that show called The Jewish Story on the Land of Israel Network. Rav Mike Feuer, thank you so much for joining us. And people can also connect with you for amazing spiritual counseling. And I want to wish you a great Shavuot. And as you said, may we receive the Torah and inscribe it in our hearts.
All right. I will see you at Sinai. Thank you.
All right, folks. You are listening to the Yishai Fleischer Show. Rav Mike Feuer joined us today, and that was awesome. I want to thank Yocheved Seidman, Moshe Herman, Ben Bresky, and Lou for joining us on the show today. All those for helping the show go out, and Lou for joining us and helping produce the show today. And many, many great sponsors make this show happen, including prohibitionpickle.co.il, making the great platters for Shabbat and for your stay here and for people that you love in the land of Israel. Prohibitionpickle.co.il. Check out jewishpress.com and jns.org. People ask me all the time about great news websites. So jns.com and jewishpress.com and jns.org. And of course, the Hebron Fund. Check out Hebron Fund. That's how it's spelled, HEBRONFUND.org, to support the tombs of the patriarchs and matriarchs in Hebron, and also to come on a great trip. So check out hebronfund.org. And also a shout out to the good folks at jbrick.com, that make great Jewish Lego. And there's great presents that you could buy for your kids, or maybe even for yourself. I love Lego, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it as well. So we have a lot of sponsors to the show, and really appreciate you guys being there. If you want to help continue to sponsor the show yourself, like directly, go to buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. Easy enough. And also, of course, if you want to support our bigger projects, for example, the beautification of the tomb of Ruth and Yishai, you could do that at YishaiFleischer.com, and check out the donate page and our projects page there. So more great stuff is on the way. And indeed, we are sending you blessings from the land of blessings. Send us those blessings back. May we be continuously connected in the ways of Torah and in the paths of the land of Israel, in the footprints of the forefathers and mothers. God bless you. Stay tuned. Stay connected. Stay part of the story, and be active, because we're alive for a reason. This is our time. More great stuff is on the way. Lots of love and shalom.